Okay, it's 2 after the hour, so why don't we get started here? I'm sure as others come along, we'll let them into the webinar. Wanted to quickly introduce myself. I'm Greg Jones. I'm the Vice President of Smart Force Development with AMT, the Association for Manufacturing Technology. I've been working with NCATC for about 20 years. I've known Craig McAtee, the Executive Director of NCATC, for at least that long. And last summer, I was honored to be able to be elected to the NCATC Board of Directors, occupying one of the Strategic Alliance Partner Board chairs. So it's great to work with this organization and the American Association of Community Colleges generally. Real quick, I just want to remind everybody, as you came in, you saw you had to click on a link that let you know that we were recording this webinar so that we can get the recording out there for others who may have not been able to attend with us at 2 p.m. Eastern today. So just a reminder, we are recording this. The recording will probably be available first of next week after it goes through final editing and all that stuff. I'd also encourage you to add questions that you may have during the presentation today, and you can do that using the chat function in Zoom. We're all about 2 years into this pandemic now, so I'm sure Zoom is familiar with everyone here. Today, I'm honored to introduce Jim Lawrence from AVR Connect for a webinar on manufacturing and education and how we're shifting from a 2D world to a 3D world. Next slide, please. Just a little background on NCATC and some of our core competencies and strategic focus areas. We are really focused on the future of work, what Industry 4.0 and smart digital manufacturing and smart automation mean to the education career pathway to manufacturing careers right now. Heavy focus on Industry 4.0. We also focus on work-based learning and training via apprenticeships, internships, co-ops, entrepreneurships. Very focused on competency-based education through applied skills and knowledge, and really emphasizing industry recognized credentials and certifications. Just a quick disclaimer on that. I am also a member of the board of directors of NIMS, so we will only hear positive comments about industry recognized credentials and certifications today, whether they're from NIMS or MSSC or any other providers. And finally, NCATC is focused on adult learning opportunities for those people who may need to be upskilled, and especially those coming from underserved and underrepresented communities. Next slide, please. If you go to ncatc.org, you can see a list of all the members via interactive map. I think this is a rendering of that map, so you can click on the map, see where all the schools are located. You can tell by these marks on the map that in the very highly manufacturing areas of the US, there are a lot of NCATC member schools. It's a total of 165 community colleges and technical colleges across the country. And then of course, we're up to about 45 strategic partners now as well. I think AMT, during my participation there, we've probably been an NCATC member for the past 12 or 13 years, I think. And we get a lot of back and forth from working with the NCATC schools and Craig's group generally. Next slide, please. NCATC is also really highly focused in working with the Manufacturing USA Institutes. So from America Makes to ARM, the Robotics and Manufacturing Institute in PA, Next Flex, all of the institutes, and they are growing. There's a couple of more institutes that I think are going to be named in 2022. Working at AMT, our group was actually involved with the makeup of what the Manufacturing USA Institutes were going to look like about 15 years ago. So we're really proud to see all of these institutes being formed. They all have a mission to focus on education and workforce development, in addition to the things that they're doing to advance their particular niche in manufacturing. Next slide, please. And there's a look at the names and brands of the NCATC Strategic Partner organizations. So you see AMT on there, FON-XR Robotics, Festo, the Haas H-Tech Network, Lincoln Electric on the welding side. We got Autodesk and Mastercam on the software side of things. A lot of companies, many of whom are AMT member companies, are strategic alliance partners with NCATC, and I'm really proud of that. Next slide, please. Okay, today's speakers are Jim Lorenz from AVR Connect. He's president there. I've known Jim personally for, I don't know, Jim, what, at least 30 or 40 years, showing my age a little bit.
Yeah, decade.
Yeah. We're also going to hear from, I'm sorry, I think it's Rena. Yeah, that's right. Rena Walsinger with Eon Reality and Oren Schwartz, and also John Green. I'm not sure John Green has joined us yet. Okay, good. Thanks for joining us, John. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. Okay, take it away, Jim.
Yeah, and if you just advance to my first slide there, I appreciate that. Greg, thank you very much. We've known each other a long time, and both on the business side, as well as on the personal side. So let me jump in. My name is Jim Lorenz, and I am president of AVR Connect. We're a virtual reality, augmented reality, 3D service provider and solutions provider. You can go one slide further, please. Next slide. And we have strategic partnerships with Eon Reality, who we're going to hear from today, as well as Paracosma, which is a US-based company as well. I'll save the overview on Eon because we're going to talk about that. Paracosma, we have over 100 developers, XR developers, engineers, 3D artists focused on providing outsourced 3D, AR, VR, and development services. So on one side, Eon's got this great platform, allows you to quickly build 3D and XR content. And then the other side for me is that development side of the 3D models and simulations that can be used. Next slide. So many of you who know me or know AVR Connect, they think augmented reality, virtual reality, which you should. Much of what we work on is AR and VR simulations for training, remote service, field service, and collaboration. However, the focus is really on a much broader transition from 2D to 3D computing. AR and VR are at the forefront of that, but it also reflected in the rise of 3D printing and self-driving cars and deep fake videos, and many other fields that are enabled or enhanced for spatial computing and 3D perspectives. Just as we saw this transition from text to HTML and from audio to video, we're seeing a transition from 2D to 3D. Slide, please. Really quickly and at an incredibly simplified explanation, polygons. Artists use polygons to create a mesh frame that is later textured and lit and much more logic added to it. And these to create the base of a 3D model. I'm going to talk a little bit about 3D models today. The concept, by the way, kind of reminds me of the old paper mache over a balloon, and then you pop the balloon at the end. But that's basically the starting point, is this mesh the slide, please. So when you're creating a model, a 3D model, which is the basis for AR and VR, we're really doing it by hand in this explanation over here, where they're being typically a photograph and then hand created by artists, and there's marketplaces for models that already exist and can be purchased. And there's companies like us that create custom models, libraries of 3D assets and custom models. And then if you, next slide, please. Alternatively, now there is a way to use LiDAR and other ways to capture the scan of the 3D model. And we're going to talk about that more today. So the demand is high for 3D artists and 3D developers. And you guys probably have heard this already. You know, the world literally is being mapped and modeled into 3D. Replicas, digital twins, digital spaces are being made. Everything man-made and Mother Nature are being created into libraries, rooms, entire cities, from factory floors to a refrigerator and a robot and everything that's in it. The 3D version is being created, and there's some reasons why on that. If you go to the next slide, please. So photography replacement, right? The entire supply chain literally is being disrupted by, instead of shipping furniture to one location and taking pictures of it, thousands, hundreds of thousands of textured, modeled images of furniture and other things are being created and put into libraries. Slide, please. So whether it's for photography or for movie set production, you can see, interesting picture here. You can see the filming was done in the middle there in the green screen. Everything else is digital models. Next slide, please. A couple other examples here for AI related. We're producing just thousands and thousands of synthetic images to aid in machine learning, especially on edge cases for AI. What you're seeing here is tagging. Everything you see here is created digitally here for proper. The one on the upper right there is to make sure for training that people are wearing hard hats versus the smoke versus flame that's coming out of the other ones. We're all creating these in synthetic images. Next slide, please. Additional models are being created for predictive maintenance and monitoring, where we're combining IoT sensor data into digital twins. So you can go ahead there. In the next slide, it goes on and on. Here's digital campuses for collaboration. Labs are being created. Everything on the left-hand side is the reference image that were created. People are creating on the right-hand side. Slide. One more slide. Kind of, you know, these are all, everything you're seeing here today is created digitally. So I'm going to roll from here, and you know, good segue to introduce Eon Reality, who both are using different ways to bring these models into their platform, and we're going to show you how we're going to make use of those models in a way that is really going to delight and surprise you. So I want to kick this over to my friend and colleague Oren Schwartz. He's a business development and grant manager at Eon Reality. He has over 10 years of experience with the electronic manufacturing industry, and he's responsible for working with Eon's industry and academic partners within the central states of America. So, Oren, I appreciate you being here today, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Jim, for that warm welcome, and AVR Connect, who's a very important partner of ours, and also to Gregory Jones and Craig McAtee for the warm welcome. We're very excited to be here and to share with you what we believe is the present and future of 3D and the digitalization of education. And I should start by saying that EON strongly supports the NCAT's mission really to enhance and advance the use of advanced technology to support economic and workforce development programs. There's no doubt that today the world of 3D and digitalization continues to play an ever larger role in workforce training and development, and in our evolution towards Industry 4.0. And this technology will no doubt play a huge role in bolstering American competitiveness and education in the 21st century. So it's absolutely delightful to be here today. A little bit about Eon Reality. So we've been at the forefront of this space for many years. Our chairman and founder, Dan Layerscar, founded Eon 22 years ago. And he's a brilliant guy who is very much committed to this platform and also this 3D and metaverse idea that we are seeing more and more every day in mainstream society. And so who is Eon? Eon essentially 22 years ago began in the industry space, working with many manufacturing companies, many of which who you see here today, Siemens, Honeywell, Caterpillar. Even the Air Force uses us not just for pilot training, but aircraft maintenance. And our solutions have become increasingly more important, especially since the pandemic, which has really hastened the emergence of this technology. Our people, as everyone's looking for ways to advance workforce training and education. And then really over the last 10 years, what Eon's done is form these partnerships with academic institutions globally. So we have a very long list of academic partners, many of which who are partnered with us through our grant program, which allows our academic partners and even our corporate partners to have access to this technology for their own workforce development and training. And so why do people partner with Eon? So this is some information from PricewaterhouseCoopers, who conducted many studies around VR and AR. So as Jim mentioned, we're a world leader in XR technology, which is virtual and augmented reality. And so we know from a lot of these studies that people tend to learn about 4 times faster in virtual or augmented reality as opposed to traditional learning. People are about 275% more confident in applying their skills when they've learned, trained, and performed in VR and AR. And that's what our platform is. It's learning, training, performing, and collaborating. And people are about 3.7 times more emotionally connected. And I guess, an ancient proverb best explains it is, I hear, I forget, I do, I understand. And our platform is all about people doing and performing tasks, not just seeing it or witnessing it. So that being said, over the past few years, Eon has essentially moved towards rolling out several important products in this space. Our Eon XR platform is the flagship product of our entire service, basically. And my colleague, John Green, as well as my colleague, Rena Wolzinger, are going to walk you through the applications and use cases specifically towards manufacturing end. So we're super excited about that as we continue to roll towards this idea of the metaverse, which we see actually being realized by 2030. So that being said, just quickly about the Eon XR platform, we're a no code creation platform. What that means for you is creating a lesson is no more difficult than creating a PowerPoint, which is very important. So no coding knowledge required. We have an XR library with over 1.1 million 3D assets. And we also integrate through your LMS system to an LTI integration, which technical people will understand is something that's very important in connecting to your educational database. We also have merged XR and spatial meetings, which my colleague John Green is going to go into detail with you on. And so that being said, just real quick, Eon has been, as mentioned, working with our academic and our enterprise partners through our grant programs. And we've been doing this for nearly a decade now. And we're doing this for a number of reasons. To build the knowledge metaverse, we want to make this technology available, accessible, and affordable to everybody, because knowledge is a human right. Job creation is a huge aspect as well for us, creating quality content as well. And a lot of this is driven through our non-for-profit Eon Education and Eon Learn for Life. And so when we have these grants and with our partners on the academic side and also on the enterprise side, what Eon delivers is the infrastructure where we host everything perpetually on Amazon Web Services. Obviously, our Eon XR platform, we provide hardware and the knowledge and know-how to actually implement this. We have a 9-step implementation. And Rena Wolzinger, our Director of Customer Success, plays an integral role in that. So we have several grant programs. The first is our Future Skills Grant Program, which is almost exclusively focused on workforce development. And within that, there's an in-kind donation from Eon towards this, and a lot of it's focused on post-pandemic recovery as well. We also have our research grant program for those interested in research in XR, areas like digital twin technology, merged XR, and spatial XR. And we also have a regional grant, which would be something that would be more at the state level and so forth. So that being said, we also have something called the Metaverse Academy, which is training people for education in the space of XR, which we project to grow And as Jim referenced correctly, is a market that's about to really explode, where we project about 24 million new jobs created specifically in this space, virtual and augmented reality and 3D by 2030. So this is the emerging area that's going to be of huge importance to us. And finally, just to repeat, we are hardware agnostic, so we work with any type of hardware you guys are using. So if it's Mac or PC, Oculus or Magic Leap, we can work with you. Our XR platform is totally capable of working within all of that. And so what I'm going to put in the comment box here is information related to our various grants. We also have a K through 12 grant, which I think everyone's going to find quite interesting, which we've rolled out, as well as my contact information. So if you'd like to contact me directly, I absolutely welcome you to do so. And that being said, what I'm going to do now is hand it off to our Director of Customer Success, Rena Wolzinger. And I want to get this right. So Rena is a biomedical engineer with manufacturing patents in medical product design. She also has a doctorate in higher education leadership and is also a leader on National Industry Credential Project with the National Association of Manufacturers. Rena plays an integral role in working with our academic and our enterprise customers and rolling this out. So take it away, Rena.
Thanks so much, Oren, and thanks everybody. So yes, I am a professor in digital media. It's how I got manufacturing. You know, I was designing medical products and learned 2D and 3D rendering, and lend itself well to also teaching as a professor in the same thing. So I'm really excited to be here. I've known Ian for about 15, 20 years through an externship as a professor. So I won't take a lot of time because we have just the hour, so let me run through some things. What I wanted to talk about really was about how different this is for students and how amazing and immersive it is. And one of my favorite heroes is John Dewey that I like to read about. Most effective education is experiential. And so we're moving from kind of this 3D camera view of things where you can, see things in a video to this new modality. And I'm just going to show you this video I made. Let me turn down the volume a little bit on assets. These are manufacturing assets that they're, as you know, because we talked about ABR, are available. And I just like to show this because I just made this actually yesterday, just because there's so many things out there for us to use. And there's a lot of opportunity to create as well, but there's just a lot of assets out there in manufacturing, which is really great. And they're changing, which is why I wanted to show this, because we have the 3D, augmented reality, virtual reality, but now we have spaces you can walk around and meet in. In fact, this meeting, maybe next time we'll meet together as avatars in one of these spaces, maybe in a manufacturing plant. But, these, I'll skip through for speed, but, it's very immersive for students to learn, in these environments, and they can actually be walking around and interacting with things as well. So I just put some of these in there, but readily available to upload into Eon's platforms. We take these files and they go right up, and then you can customize them and work with them and add content through artificial intelligence. So it's really changing very quickly, which is really, it's really a lot of fun, actually. Just the asset, even the assets in workforce development are changing, and it's really helping for competency-based education and the industry credentials, because now we can match our learning objectives and those things that we test in the credentials, and then do things through spatial assessment, which John will talk about in a little bit. So I just put some things important to this sector. Is one of my favorite. It's just the one-to-one environments now that we have. So just even on your phone or on an iPad, or if you have a goggles, you just press a one-to-one button, and then in your house, and I'll show you this in a minute, you're walking around a factory in real space. It's pretty amazing, but completely immersive. So let me show a little bit about that. I think I have it right here. I do. Okay. So I made this video in my house on my phone, and I put some annotations there about things you can explode, look at individual parts. You can move things around. You can bring in AI about any of those things. Here's me looking at a robotic arm and just looking at that piece and how that would work. It's a drill robot. And, resizing. And then what I did is brought in that thing back into augmented reality. That's in my house. And then just with one finger, flip it around and hit the button that says 1-to-1, and now I'm walking in the factory. So that experience is really different for students than watching a video or looking in a book or whatever. So you see my house in the background. And so, you know, and now what we can do is meet in there with avatars and move things around. You can, let's say an order of operations, you can measure people doing procedures and things like that. Here's another quick one of, this is kind of the equipment I'm used to using as an engineer, you know, making parts and rendering tooling and trying that out on the production line. So this is a quick video that I made. And then what I like about it, you know, there's a lot of the models are animated, so it's nice for students. And then, you know, you can walk around, and then I wanted to see inside of the safety hood, so I can just walk up there, which you'll see me doing here. And go look inside, and it's actually physically walking and then going, checking out, you know, how that works. So then, you know, I'm the Chief Learning Officer for EON, so I think a lot about how this is going to translate for students. And I'll just go through this quickly, just, you know, modeling things that are harder to teach until now we can make them any size, and coaching, especially in these spatial meetings, you know, building these scaffolded events. And this is, I'll show this in a minute, how with artificial intelligence, now you can just take a picture of anything with your phone in AR or VR, but we do it in AR and EON. And then you can add content really quickly, which is an amazing research tool for students because they can do it themselves. It's easier for your teachers as well. So here's a quick one, and I'll run through on a circuit board. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but just, you know, how easy it is. Take out my voice, but
here's the computer fan.
Get the live voice. So just going in on different parts and showing them, and how, so like on this type of lesson, I could be having a lesson around building a circuit board, and then the student would have to build it, and I'd be measuring the order of operations and then the time that took and things that were not complete. That's the latest things that you can do in augmented reality. So it's a completely different way of learning. And actually, I was talking yesterday with one of our big college presidents here in Los Angeles, where I live, and about this type of stuff. And she was talking about putting it on their smart boards at starting in middle school, just teaching these components. And it's such a different way of learning for students starting at a very young age. So, you know, I wish I had this when I was in engineering, just because it's these are the types of things, this physics and chemistry, biology, that I think are unbelievable in this space that would have been easier to learn in, especially for visual learners like myself. And Oren, let me know when I'm short of time, but I'm just kind of running through it quickly. I just want to show a little bit of this one. I was at USC a couple weeks ago, and I showed this video to the graduate students.
Add information using artificial intelligence.
Let me lower this. About there's some artificial intelligence about the 3D cockpit, and they were saying if they only had this information while they're learning, they could design things with safety factors in mind and all that. And, you know, they don't really have these industry assets at the school, so that's what they're going to be adding now.
In the 777 navigation area.
Let's begin from position hold at the end of the active line.
Now we're starting to learn about the ACARS computer. Walk around the cockpit, and let's look at another video about throttle controls of 777 during a descent.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
So in this experience, we're gathering information, learning in real time, walking around the environment, one-to-one scale. Great experience, closest to being in a simulator or in an actual 777 cockpit. Yeah.
In this presentation, we're going to take a quick overview of the Boeing 777 cockpit layout. I've been a 777 captain for the last 8 years, and it's my pleasure to show you what.
Oh, I just remember wasn't in presentation mode, but this one, I'm going to go back out of it for a minute just so I can see my controls. At the end of this video, there's something that's amazing that we don't do enough is
The backup flight management system computer. but it's normally used for communications with the cabin and with the SATCOM system to talk to stations on the ground.
So I'm going through this video or this experience with a real pilot, and that's my avatar and that's his avatar. And we go through like a 10-minute thing on all of the controls in the lower and upper panel of 777 cockpit. He's a current 777 captain. So that's something where it's really easy to do and bring industry in, and something that we don't do enough. I know I don't have the opportunity to do that as much now, but this makes it really easy to do. And that's kind of my favorite thing I've discovered in these spaces is you can just go through machinery with people that use them every day. So I love that part. So skip through. How are we doing? Do I have a couple more minutes, Oren?
You have about 2 more minutes.
Okay, great. Just a quick one I made about welding here, and I'll just show you a walkthrough with the, on this one, just wanted to show something about working in and outside of safety glass. Something I've done a lot as an engineer, both in this and in the scientific area when you're doing lab stuff and under a hood. And so, how, you can have this experience in your own home or in your own area, or go through it with the manufacturing. So I put like artificial intelligence in there, and I can actually walk around the space in a one-to-one. There I am. It's just walking around and checking out all the different things, learning about all the components, the robotic arm, the motion of the equipment. So I'll skip to the end now. So it's a really different experience for students. I think it really lends itself well to manufacturing, and actually in a lot of all these different fields, right? Whether you're doing a factory experience, medical, so many different things. And then finally, just on learning outcomes and industry credentials, I think it's very easy to apply this to competency-based education. It's completely where you can actually practice doing these things and measure and take things apart, put them together, or actually point on things and do procedural things, which is the latest things coming out for the end of 2021. So with that, I just want to see for a second if there are any questions for me. It's quiet. So if not, I'm going to introduce then. Oh, wait, there is a question. Oh, yeah. So, I'm going to have John do that, Gregory, if that's okay. So with that, I'm going to introduce John Green. John is one of our chief trainers in EON, and he's just amazing to work with. And I'll let John maybe finish the end of your background, but John is an amazing trainer, and he can answer all those questions in detail. So go ahead, John.
Myself, and thank you, appreciate it. Okay, yes, I'm with the training team at the EON Client Success Manager located in Irvine, California, and work with many education institutions in many different programs. So I'm very excited to give you this experience, what it's like to use our platform from a learner, from a content creator, from a content author perspective. What are some of these experiences we could have? So I like starting out with my device. Many of our users are connected just with their mobile devices, smartphone, tablet, and you'll be placed right into your institutional library where all of your 3D models, your 360 images, they'll all be located in one place, easy to get to. And I'm just going to show you some examples, but you'll be able to customize the experience. You can click here on my workspace. And what's nice about this saves all the assets that I'm building, content that I'm building, these experiences that I'm creating. It saves it to one place here where I can easily manage, and I can share this to other people, have multiple people create the same lesson. So I'm going to select this one here just as an example. You can see I can put my lesson objectives. I can add additional coursework or document materials. Once I click on Start Lesson, to navigate this a bit for you. So here I have a motor. You can see here I'm on touch mode. Make this a little bigger. And on the left-hand side, you can see all my interactive tools. I can see what annotations come with that model. Now I'll be able to change these. I can rearrange the order. I can edit, add my own annotations. I can disassemble in different areas. I have an X-ray vision. And if that model includes movement or animation, I'll see that in this section right here. So all those tools you have at your disposal. And then on the right-hand side, this is where I'm going to access my lesson content has been created. As content authors, you'll have an assortment of tools such as audio, video. You can record your own voice, bring in a video from YouTube. So here,
The Toyota engine family is a series of inline-six automobile engines, a replacement for the M series.
and I bring in a video as well.
Today I'm going to show you what's inside of Toyota's 2AR FE engine and how it works. Now this 2.5 liter.
You can also create multilingual lessons where you can have a text-to-speech. I can select an audio output in a different language if I'm inputting that content in there. So a couple examples.
Embora o motor 2JZ tenha sido dos últimos 6 em linha.
We got Portuguese, Spanish.
El famoso motor 2JZT es un 6 cilindros en...
It's a whole list of different languages you have the option to. Now, as you go down here, we really want the learners to be in an active state, not just passively consuming content. That's why we've added these engaging activities, such as a quiz. I can ask questions throughout the experience. I come in here, okay, here's a quiz question. Answer that, so we can check in on the knowledge. I can have identify. So right now, you can see I'm being asked to identify these components. So I can make it very interactive. These are the spark plugs, got that one. And we also can record our voice in the model at the same time, making it really easy to explain difficult procedures or concepts in a much more visual way. So here's an example of that. Okay, here we go. We have the Toyota motor. And I'm going to walk around it and do a quick overview. We're going to first talk about the oil filter. This is the engine block right below there. So that's an example. So imagine students putting into their own words what they're learning or explaining processes back to the instructor, getting this really collaborative, engaging experience. I can switch from different modalities. I'm in touch mode. Let's go into an AR mode. And there's a grid there. I'm gonna place this right on my motor, right on my laptop. There we are, looking at the the motor here. And I could continue my lesson in AR mode. I never left my lesson. I could access my tools right there. I could see the quiz. I can do identify, a couple other activities. I also could see the annotations. I could disassemble. I can grab different components, move them around the space, and see if I can play my video files all there on AR mode right in front, and it can scale to size as well. They can rearrange, place it right there. We also can get a VR experience. So not only AR, we can get VR right from our devices. Let me slide these little glasses right there in the background. So if these little glasses, this can connect to your smart device. This clips on the back. If you look through these like this, you will get a VR experience directly from your device. So let me click on here. I'll come right back to VR. And now we are in the VR component. All I have to do is tilt my screen to the right or the left. This moves that model around. I have all my interactive tools below here where I can really research and look at that model in different angles, different ways right there, and then come right back to touch mode. Again, just sparking curiosity, giving the learner this ability to flip back and forth, change different modalities, still stay in that same lesson context that has been specifically designed by the author in that way. As soon as I exit, you can see we're keeping track of the activities, what has been completed. I can download this lesson to an offline mode. I'm going somewhere with no internet connection, low bandwidth. I can place this into an offline mode. Also, I want to show you one more lesson here and just what we can do. Come in right there, the shipping warehouse, just in terms of scaling objects to one-to-one modes, such as Rena was showing. So I'm going to come in this environment. You can see now we are in a typical warehouse, and I'm going to place this in AR mode. I'm going to place it down here on the floor. So you place it there, and then you can see there's that one-to-one button on the right-hand side. I just tap on the one-to-one. All of a sudden, my entire room here has turned into this warehouse. Now I can walk across, I can leave the desk here, but you're gonna see I'm just gonna do a quick circle just to kind of see what the experience is like from that user going through their space, but now walking in this environment. And I'm back here. So you can see I could grab different components, move those around the space, and like really I can turn my area here into this object that scaled 1-to-1. And then I'll flip right back, go back to touch mode. So I just want to show you some of those, what's possible right from your device. Really powerful tool. If I go into the application on the desktop, you can see everything is on the cloud. With my login credentials, I go into my smart device. I can go right to the desktop. It will place me into my library where I can search for additional assets. I'll show you the creation side. So if you're an author, if you're creating this content for smart workers or your students, you can create different, come in to select a model. And here I was working with this model earlier. You can see I can open it up, and now I'm in that creation space where I can see all of my models. I can click on here. I can add audio files. I can record my voice. I can add video. I can set up all those identify, locate, quizzes, upload a PDF document. So lots of other possibilities there. And also, if I come back, we can record our voices and move the model at the same time. So this would have looked at like this. So here we have a flexible FMS system, and I can click this around. I can focus in on one area, the CNC lathe machine we have over here. So as I'm moving the model, my voice is being recorded. And I can come in here, select a different, and talk about this model here, and then stop recording, and then play it back time. So see how it looked at like this. Easily captured my voice. So here we have a flexible FMS system, and I can click this around. I can focus in on one area. Once I hit save, that gets saved to my model. And then there are many ways that you can share these experiences with other people in the same institution. I can open up a link, and now I can just simply cut and paste this link and send it to a colleague of mine. Check out this presentation I did, this procedure. Even I can open up a QR code. I can click on here and make it public. So you're having an event on site, a workshop, open up a QR code. Now anyone with their cell phone can come and scan this in. It'll take them directly into that one-time experience. It could be a tour of a factory or any sort of training experience that you can share with other individuals. Also, you can upload your own custom assets. If you're creating models, if you find models outside of EON, as Oren mentioned, we have the marketplace, over 1 million assets in there. In that, if you bring in other models, we can import that into the system. Our platform accepts over 40 different file types. Some of the popular ones you might see in different websites, FBX, OBJ, GLTF, easily import that. Once it's in there, it becomes a part of your institution. You can share it, make it public. Anyone can take that model and build an experience around that. Now, another way to look at this and experience this asset, we've seen it through a cell phone device, we've seen it on a desktop. You can connect to a VR headset. Now, we work with an assortment of different headsets, such as HTC Vive, Magic Leap, as well as the Oculus Quest. And this is found in the App Lab store. You can download that app, and that will place you in a fully immersive experience where you can move about the space, come in contact with that object. On those handheld clickers, you'll have all of those interactive tools that we've looked at. I can dissect, take things apart, zoom in, see the individual components. So very interactive experience. I can even change the background and maintaining those engagement levels high, switch the background around, still stay on that same asset. Also 360 pictures, the ability to take a snapshot with a 360 camera, import that into the platform. Now you're customizing this entire experience with this image, and learners will be able just to tour around there with their smart devices, access audio, video on specific locations, and bring environments in just with the snapshot of a 360 camera. And you can see that. You can even add quizzes as people go through there. So there's a lab floor. There's a quiz I can click on and see, check on the knowledge of the students. So lots of easy ways here we can build out this content based on the environments that you bring into the system. Also the ability to have meetings so we can collaborate with one another. Right from my smart device, I can open up a link. I can share a code with a colleague. And now we're connected in the same environment. Here I'm on my cell phone, my colleague is on a desktop, but now we're looking at the same 3D model. I can move the model independently. My colleague can take over as the lead presenter. There's an audio component so we can hear each other. And someone can take over there as a lead controller. I can switch to an AR mode and even see the avatar of the presenter who's leading that, and can take turns talking about different parts or sections of a model. And let me show you some experiences here. So what I've seen up until now is what we call FON-XR, which takes the physical world and adds it to the digital. You might have heard some new tools called merged XR and spatial meanings. Well, with merged XR, we reverse that process, go from digital back to the physical. Let me walk you through an example of this use case here. Now with LiDAR technology, certain cameras now have LiDAR, where you're able to scan objects, scan environments, and you can bring that into the platform. So here's an example, just using a tablet to scan this motor. A few minutes, I just walked around that motor, scanned its parts and components, save that as a file. Recall that we accept all these different file types. You can upload it to the platform, and that becomes a lesson that you can start building content around, all off that scanned object. What's great about merged XR, we can do this on site in AR mode at the location where we scan that. So here I'm back on site, and I placed my motor, the model, next to the real one. And now I'm doing this auto alignment. So I have 3 different points of references that I can align this scan model into its actual real world location. The 3 dots, I'm using the 3rd dot, I'm going to place it all the way behind the motor. And now I'm just going to click on align. It neatly places it right into that engine. And now what I can do, I can hide the model. I can make it transparent. So now what shows up are all these knowledge portals, all the content that I've added to that experience. And what we can do, there's a Google Lens technology. This is where the AI search component comes in. Using Bing technology, I take a snapshot of that motor. It's going to bring back visual matches. And that will lead me to keywords, which I'll be able to search and investigate more. And it's going to bring me back definitions, pictures, images. And here I just voiced in the word V8 engine. It brought back a whole list of text definitions based on that keyword. I see images as well as video. And all to do is tap on any one of these elements, and that will be added directly to my lesson experience. So here I have a video on site there in front of that motor, going through video content. Then we have what we call 3D avatar recording. I can record my voice as I walk around that space, and then I'll show you what happens when I play it back to you.
Okay, here we have a quick tour of the Hemi V8 engine. You can see where the engine oil cap is located. And as I come across to the right-hand side, we're going to look at where the battery is located. This is where you'll have your jumper cables ready to go.
So that's some experience with merge. And lastly, I want to show you EON's spatial meanings, the ability to connect with one another in these shared environments. Here we did a couple of spatial meetings yesterday with the Warren and Rena, and we simply, with that warehouse we selected, I scaled that to size. I invited both of them into this experience. And now you can see we can grab objects apart. We can have this shared collaborative experience within these environments. We can walk through training procedures, have people sit here. Rena's here is in that forklift, and we can have people train them on it. We can move about the space, go to different objects. Here we can grab components. There's this laser pointer, you can point at certain objects and move those around the space. Here's a different example. It's a hangar. Here's a turbine engine. You can take things apart. Again, up to 6 people can connect in this environment as an avatar, and anyone can take over the control and lead that discussion. There's a warehouse. I can grab different components, move those around. So really engaging environments here, again, all connected through the spatial meanings. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, just so you can get an experience what it's like to use our platform, how you create experiences, how you can share those, and how you can collaborate with one another. Great. See if there are any questions.
Thank you, John. That was a fascinating presentation, and I think everybody agrees that my mind was blown a little bit about our ability to see what you're doing in real time during a Zoom presentation. That was unbelievable. And if I could, I'm just going to get a shameless message out there right now. AMT produces the IMTS show, International Manufacturing Technology Show, and my team is responsible for producing the Student Summit at IMTS. At the last Student Summit, we had 8 or 9 different companies, mostly in the area of robotics, who were putting AR, VR applications on display and allowing students to put headsets on during the Student Summit. Trust me when I tell you, dozens of students were queued up to put those headsets on and experience it. So it's mainly, things like putting robotic teach pendant in the hands virtually of a student and allowing them the ability to control a robot arm. We use the Student Summit as our industry's method of putting what we consider to be the manufacturing technology classroom of the future on display for schools. And I think, at IMTS 2022, this is the kind of technology that we're going to see. The evolution of the technology from 2018 to where it is today is, again, it's just mind-blowing to me. And imagine, going to school like I did in the 60s and 70s and 80s and having this kind of instruction at your fingertips and being able to engage in this much interactivity in your learning process. This is really the future of where education is going today. I see we had a couple of questions there. James Barry, did you get your question answered by Bonnie with that chat? Do you have any further questions that you'd like to add? Hearing none, I think, Rena, you can.
I asked a question. I think I asked the question, can you feel, how do you handle, feeling? And because that's the pushback I get. We're in the business of, mechatronics to teach people how to repair, equipment, and it's not always just sensors. And, there's a variety of continuum of technology that we need to span with all of our manufacturing companies. And so the pushback I get is, how do you know when something is so heavy? You see it just being dropped, the motor being dropped in, but it might weigh 150 pounds. That's a big deal. And then I think I'm aware of haptics and I'm aware of the gloves and, because it's being used in the gaming world. But I don't know if it's actually being incorporated in this type of development, which I think is absolutely needed if we're going to do this truly in a virtual, productive way.
Yeah, you mind if I address that for a second? So, and obviously in weight is one of those things in engineering. We have not, come in the gaming platforms in terms of weight. It's more like the haptics or, there's a lot of accessibility stuff for hearing impaired, visually impaired, mobility impaired, and the haptics. But I agree with you. Weight is that's one that's hard to tackle as an engineer. I'm trying to think about it, but yeah, it's not going to replace and this isn't meant to replace the real environment. It's meant as, another learning modality, but yeah. I agree with you. That's a tough one. But yeah, you can download this now we have what we call a freemium version on Eon Reality. It's right on the website, and it's also in the App Store, whether you have an Apple or Samsung or whatever. So check it out.
Yeah, and I'll mention this on gloves, right? We talked about haptics. The like everything else in this particular world, technology is advancing. It's getting less expensive. I mean, I was actually down at the IAPA show, which is amusements and parks, who are like way ahead of most, surprisingly, in VR. They've been in it for a long time, and there's some quite inexpensive haptic gloves being developed now that have 3 degrees of freedom on each finger and can have sense force. Weight's a different story still, but it's coming along for those that need it.
Yeah, I mean, the gravity thing, that's why you feel sick sometimes with headsets with those, because you don't have that extra sense of gravity to balance out what you're seeing, and that's really messes up your brain.
How do you guys build a asset library that has 1 million assets in it? Is it you just build algorithms and go out there on the web and scour the web for digital assets, or how's that done?
Yeah, John.
Yeah, we made partnerships with third-party companies that where artists publish their work to these sites. So Eon has partnered with those companies, and then we've linked them into what we call this marketplace, where institutional learners can go in and browse those assets that have been published to this environment.
Interesting.
Right, and those libraries are getting larger and larger. The Eon libraries, as well as the marketplace libraries out there, as I mentioned, and custom libraries are being built. There's a lot of action going on right now that you probably didn't even hear about. Where just this conversion to a 3D model behind the scenes with just about everybody right now for use. Later on, they're building their own custom personal libraries of 3D assets and content.
Yeah, it's almost like the music store now, where you hop on there, but then, what do you do with them after that? So that's where we come in for learning. But yeah, it every day it's growing. And I can tell you in workforce, I'm working with some of the presidents and CEOs of these companies to add more workforce assets. There's a lot, but then when you think about the ways of learning now with the new stuff, with like, 3D assessment and walking in the one-to-one environment, then it's a good opportunity to be building out those. And the designers don't know, right? So we have to tell them. That's a big part of what organizations like this could be doing is, letting those designers know this is where there's a lack of content. And so that's one of the things I'm really excited about working on, and accessible content for our students too.
Yeah, super. Okay, we have reached the top of the hour. Are there any other questions that we have of our guest today? Hearing none and seeing none in the chat, I want to thank all of you for this presentation. I, for one, was extremely fascinated. That was the fastest hour of content I've ever been involved in before. Really great stuff. It is the future of education and workforce development, and we're so happy that you put this information forth for the NCATC audience. This webinar is recorded, and it'll be available next week, and we're going to encourage more people to come and attend and view the video recording, because it's just unbelievable what we've learned here today. And I want to thank you again. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, everyone.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks. Bye-bye.